Hey guys, it's me again. So I'm going to give you kind of the next step in our demonstrations here for you. So last time we talked about color, how to change the color of a font, how to change the color of a lot of different things. We kind of started talking about the idea of having attributes within a coding language. So today we're going to loosely talk about a couple different ideas. Those ideas being links, as well as layers, or in this case, tables. Now, if you remember GIMP, we used layers a whole lot, and it got really, really confusing. Tables are a lot like that. But I'm going to show you how to be able to read the code so you can totally comprehend what the tables actually look like. So we're going to start with tables here real quick. So I'm going to open up by typing the word table. Simple, right? So I'm telling the computer, hey, I want to begin a table right here. Now, what I mean by a table is if you think about like Microsoft Excel, right? You basically have these big grids going across your page, and you make this big spreadsheet, right? Well, we're going to code a spreadsheet. That's what we're basically doing. So we've got our table. I'm just telling the computer, hey, I want to start doing this. So now I need to tell the computer, I need to start a row going right across. So horizontal row. And to do that, I need to type the code TR, table row, right? All right. Next, so now that I've got my row lined up, I now need to tell it each individual square or each individual cell. To do that, I type the letters TD. What I mean by that is basically the information I'll be plugging into this table. So maybe I start with, hi. Now I'm going to close this like so. And then I'm going to close my TR. So I began TR, table row. I'm going to close my table row. And finally, I need to close my table as well. Okay? So all of this is one table, all of this is one row, and all of this is one individual cell inside of that row. Okay? Cool? Awesome. So whenever I hit submit, so there you go. Right? So I've got my text over here. Now you might say to yourself, that looks pretty boring. Why wouldn't I just type the word hi? I mean, it would do the exact same thing. Well, here's how it works. What's nice about tables is I can use them to kind of align things. Like we would if we were in an art class, you would talk about composition, the rule of thirds, breaking apart the screen, all that jazz. So what's going to happen is this. I'm going to get rid of him. So what happens if I wanted to go through and add in another table, another cell inside of this table? Well, I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to hit enter and paste in. So it's the exact same thing, although this one I'm going to call hello, because that way I can tell the difference. And I hit submit, and now I've got them side by side, right? But when I highlight them, you see how there's this weird little white space? Well, that's the actual table itself, and I can visualize that table by going into the actual table code, and one of the attributes for the table is border. So I'm going to type in the word border, hit equals in the little quotes, and I'm going to give it a number, basically telling it how big I want that table to be. Now I could type a border of 1,000 if I wanted to, but for the sake of this example, I'm going to do 1. That should be more than enough. There you go. So now you can kind of see what I'm actually dealing with, right? So this is what I'm actually designing. Now what happens if I copy these two like so, and I enter here, and I paste them. So now I've got hi, hello, and visually you can kind of see. So I've got a table, check, good to go. Table row, so it's all on the same row because it doesn't stop until down here. And then I've got a TD, which is one cell, TD, another cell, another cell, and another cell. So I've got these 4 cells right along each side. And whenever I hit submit, there it is. 1, 2, 3, and 4, all on the same row. Now what happens if you want to put another row, like another row down, like in Excel, right? Hit enter, right? Well, if I copy all of that right there, going from TR down to TR, in essence what I'm doing is I'm making another, I'll just do it this way, I'm making another TR. So I've closed one, and I'm beginning another. So I'm telling the computer, this is the end of that table row, start a new table row. Now from here I can do a couple more TDs. So I'd say, you get the idea, right? So I've got 4 up here and only 2 down here, 2 cells. So what happens whenever I hit submit? Well, before I hit submit, I've started my TR, got to close that TR, right? So I'm saying this is the end of that table row. So there we go. So I've told the computer what to do. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top and only 2 on the bottom. I notice that there's some blank spots over here. Well, I can also go through and use these tables as a way of organizing things. I don't need to have text in there at all. So I can get rid of that. And what that'll still give me is, you can see there's still little pockets. But what's nice is I can use the tools that we learned last time, taking an image and adjusting its height and its width, and I can adjust the height and width of these tables, or I can even adjust the height and width of the whole table row. So let's say I wanted to make this height, I don't know, say 10 pixels tall. There you go, grew a little bit, not a lot. What if I wanted to be 100 pixels tall? Oh my gosh! So you get the idea, right? Now, here's where the fun starts. Because I can enlarge these tables and move stuff around, it allows me to start doing some basic layout like you would in graphic design. But that's not the whole story. The last thing I want to teach you is links, just basic hypertext links. Here's how it works, pretty simple. So for the sake of argument, I'm just going to delete my table. You can leave yours in there if you'd like, but I want to make it less jumbled for you. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to start making a hyperlink. So the first thing I need to do is, if you imagine links that you've clicked on before in the internet, like you're looking at right now, there's text, all around me. What I can do is imagine that text, that link. Sometimes whenever you click on it, like in Google or something, whenever you click on it, it turns purple, you know what I mean? Like it says you've been here before. All right, so that's just a basic text link, and that's what we're going to make. So if I have to first, the code I have to write is the letter A. What that A stands for is it's an anchor. It anchors it right here to the page. And then I have to tell the page where to go, so I'm going to type href, right? Basically, hyperlink, a reference. I'm referencing this website, or I'm referencing this page if I had multiple pages in my website. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a page here. This is, let's see, here's our DeviantArt page. This is our featured pictures. This is what you guys have been working on in class, so I'm just going to copy that URL. So I've got an A for anchor. Then I'm going to put inside of there the reference, which is the href, equals, and throw in those little quotation marks. I'm just going to paste that URL right in there. Okay? So href equals quotation mark, URL, end quotation mark. Close off that little bracketing there, that little caret. Now, the last thing I need to do is, of course, end that anchor. So I need to end it. Tell the computer it starts here, it ends over here. I hit submit. Nothing happened. Why? Well, here's the problem. So I've told the computer that I want a link with that anchor. I told the computer that I want to stop the link with this end anchor, but I don't have the link itself. I don't have the text that's going to appear as the link. So in between these two codes, I need to be able to plug in the information. So what it'll look like is something like this. This is a link to our DeviantArt page. Okay, so the text is in between those A's, and there it is. And if I were to click on this, it would take me to the right page. Look, there it did it. Wow. Now, here's where things get interesting. So I can combine tables and start to lay things out. I can add in links, and I can actually start to link between one page that I code and another page that I code, and I start to get this cool website feel. But I can also make pictures links, because if you think about right now, I can click on the DeviantArt logo, and that's a link back to their home page. But how does that picture get to be a link? Well, if you think about our code that we started with, right? Right now the text is the link, right? The link is still here. That A, that anchor, is still there. But the text is the actual link. So if I delete out the text and I put in, say, an image, then all of a sudden I've got a picture instead of the text. And that picture will become the link. So that's everything we talked about in class today. In case you need a refresher, keep checking back here on the YouTube page and I'll help you out. But I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.